Imagine standing beside a flowing river. The water is cool, clear, and constant. You reach out to hold it, trying to grasp it tightly, but the more you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. That is what life feels like when we try to control everything. You want peace, happiness, and for things to go exactly as planned. But the harder you cling, the more exhausted, anxious, and overwhelmed you become. The problem isn't that life is too harsh, it's how we relate to it. We've been taught that control equals strength, that if we plan hard enough, worry long enough, we'll be safe. But that's an illusion. There are things forever beyond our reach, other people's reactions, global events, and unexpected disruptions. The more we resist this truth, the more drained we feel. In this video, you'll discover 6 Stoic principles that hold the key to letting go in the truest sense. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means no longer bracing yourself against what you were never meant to carry. Each principle is not just a theory, but a practical step to help you escape the anxiety loop and open the door to real freedom. And the final principle is a turning point, a moment when life begins to respond, shifting the way you see, live, and stand tall through any storm. Number 1, the power of letting go. Imagine you're clinging tightly to a rope being dragged across the ground. The longer you hold on, the more your hands begin to bleed. The harder you grip, the more it hurts. And yet, the rope leads nowhere. The moment you release it, you realize the pain fades, your hands are free, and you still have the strength to move forward. Letting go, then, is not a failure. It is a courageous choice, a choice not to be dragged endlessly by something that no longer serves you. We grow up in a society that glorifies control and success. Culture tells us to hold on as a symbol of strength. Ads and movies praise those who never give up, who hold on until the very end. Biologically, the human brain is wired to crave certainty. The fear of loss activates the amygdala, triggering the same response as facing real danger. So, holding on isn't just a conscious decision, it's a deep, instinctive reaction to avoid pain. Behavioral psychology calls this loss aversion. We fear loss twice as much as we value gain. That's why we cling to jobs, relationships, and familiar narratives, thinking that's what strength looks like. But the real trap is this: when we force ourselves to hold on, we drain energy from what no longer belongs to us, and in doing so, we miss the chance to find true strength through letting go. Seneca once wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." People often feel lost in storms, not because the storm is too strong, but because they're holding on to a direction they cannot control. When we grip tightly to outcomes, people, or a fixed version of the future, we only drift further off course. But when we release the illusion of control and keep our minds clear, like a sailor who knows where they're headed, we discover real strength, not from the wind, but from the hand on the wheel. I remember entering a public speaking competition years ago. I prepared relentlessly, writing a script, rehearsing it dozens of times. But just minutes before I was due on stage, I lost the script. Panic took over. My palms were sweating, my heart pounding, my mind freezing. In that moment, I had 2 choices: cling to what was lost, or let go and speak from the heart. I chose to let go, and to my surprise, that raw, unscripted speech moved the audience more than anything I had rehearsed. I realized then, letting go didn't weaken me. It gave me the quiet strength to truly connect. What I experienced was no different from what a friend of mine once faced. When someone he deeply trusted started growing distant, his mind spiraled. Did I do something wrong? Should I keep reaching out? Has the friendship ended? The more he tried to hold on, to force things back to how they were, the more tension there was. It wasn't until he let go of the need to control, accepted that someone else's feelings weren't his to manage, that relief began to set in. From that space, he could either speak honestly or calmly let time reveal the truth. In both outcomes, what he preserved was his peace and dignity. What's the most dangerous thing about refusing to let go? It's the state of constant tension, always on guard, as if one wrong move will cause your whole world to collapse. But life never runs on our schedule. Letting go is the only way to address the root of anxiety, the habit of trying to control the uncontrollable. On the other hand, when you truly let go, something powerful happens. You stop wasting energy on resistance. You return to the present moment, take a deep breath, enjoy a meal, and really listen to a friend. You become a calm center in the middle of chaos. And from that center, you find the strength to face any storm. So let me ask you, what are you holding on to today? A vague fear, a past outcome, a person who no longer wants to walk beside you? Try letting go, just a little. Let it fall, like a rope slipping from your hand. You'll see, you haven't lost your power. In fact, you've just reclaimed yourself. And if you don't let go, the cost is high. You'll keep being dragged, letting invisible fears control your life. You'll lose energy, lose freedom, and miss the precious moments unfolding right in front of you. But if you dare to release your grip, you'll regain clarity, strength, and a renewed belief that you are strong enough to live fully, no matter what comes your way. Letting go isn't a weakness. It's a quiet strength. It doesn't shout. It doesn't seek attention. But it's the only path to true freedom. And it's the only way life can respond, not with forced outcomes, but with unexpected gifts. Right now, try the simplest act of letting go. Leave a comment below. Write down a fear that's been haunting you, an expectation weighing on your mind, a mental rope that's been pulling you tight. Turn it into words, and as you do, let it slip from your grasp. Number 2, the trap of control and fear. Nelson Mandela, after nearly 3 decades in prison, once shared something that surprised many people. He said that the most difficult part was not the physical chains on his body, but the invisible ones in his mind, fear, and the desire to control. Mandela realized that if he allowed anger and revenge to control him, he would never truly be free, even after walking out of prison. Only by letting go of the need to control what was beyond his reach and learning to master the fear within him could he find the strength to build peace for an entire nation. Looking at modern life, many of us fall into the very same trap Mandela once warned against. We want control, control over perfect work, control over how our partner behaves, control over our children making no mistakes, even control over life's unexpected twists. Today's individuals are glued to their phones, constantly checking messages out of fear of missing something. We rush to plan every detail of the future because we fear uncertainty. At first glance, these behaviors may seem cautious or responsible, but in truth, they reveal a deep fear. Fear of losing safety, fear of not knowing. Behavioral psychology has identified the root of this. Daniel Gilbert, a psychologist at Harvard, explains in his book Stumbling on Happiness that humans tend to the illusion of control. Our brains like to believe that by thinking, preparing, and worrying, we can prevent bad things from happening. This mechanism is rooted in survival instincts. Our ancestors had to stay alert to predators and dangers. But in the modern world, where real threats are fewer, our brains recycle this mechanism by creating imagined tragedies. So we fall into a cycle. The more we fear, the more we try to control. The more we try to control, the more anxious we become. And the more anxious we become, the more drained our energy feels. The consequences are clear. When you try to control your co-workers, you come off as difficult and are pushed away. When you overly control your children, they may grow up insecure or rebellious. When you control your partner, the relationship becomes suffocating and eventually breaks. Worse yet, when you believe you can control life's major events, illness, loss, and change, you end up living in a constant state of anxiety, disappointed every time life doesn't go your way. But if we shift our perspective, we'll see that this trap isn't impossible to escape. At its core, it's driven by a need for safety, and rather than deny that, we can redirect it. Instead of trying to control everything, learn to control yourself. Instead of resisting uncertainty, learn to stand steady inside it. This is what the Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught thousands of years ago. Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command. In a word, whatever is not our own actions. When we draw a clear boundary between what belongs to us and what doesn't, letting go no longer feels like loss. It becomes the only path to freedom. The next time you find yourself worrying, ask, is this within my ability to act on? If yes, take action immediately. If not, let it go and return to the present. For example, instead of pressuring your child to get perfect grades, focus on encouraging their love for learning. Instead of checking your phone constantly, set time limits and use the rest of your day for real-life experiences. Instead of fearing what your boss thinks, focus on doing your work to the best of your ability. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you will feel a wave of relief. Your energy won't be wasted on what's out of reach. You'll conserve it for what truly matters. You'll become easier to be around, and your relationships will become warmer and more authentic. Most importantly, you'll feel safe even in uncertainty, because you know you've done your part. But if you stay trapped in control and fear, you'll keep living in a loop of exhaustion. The tighter you grip, the more you lose. The more you try to force things, the more disappointment you invite. You'll lose presence, lose simple joy, and eventually lose touch with yourself. Mandela's story reveals a timeless truth. Even when physical freedom is stripped away, a person can still find true freedom by refusing to let fear and control take the lead. And in everyday life, that same truth applies to you and me. No one escapes fear, but we do get to choose to be ruled by fear or to be guided by clarity. One leads to burnout, the other leads to peace and freedom. This trap of control and fear, when seen clearly, is like a net stretched across the water. You think that holding onto the net will help you catch more fish, but really, you're only tying yourself down. It's only when you dare to release the net that you're finally free to set sail. However, letting go of control is not the final destination. What waits on the other side is something deeper, a transformation. When you stop bracing yourself against everything, life doesn't just get lighter. It begins to flow in ways you never expected. Just like water, when it's no longer blocked, it finds its natural course, effortless, fluid, and full of life. Number 3, the inner shift of surrender. The hustle culture pushes many of us into a relentless pace, chasing achievements, obsessively checking our phones, micromanaging every hour of our schedule, terrified that if we don't try hard enough, everything will fall apart. We cling tightly to work to prove our worth, to relationships to escape loneliness, and to expectations to satisfy others' perceptions. But the tighter we hold on, the more freedom we lose. And the paradox is, only by letting go do we truly see what really matters. Consider Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was once a slave, abused, and even left physically disabled. Had he clung to resentment, he would have remained trapped in suffering. But Epictetus chose to let go. He accepted that while his body could be shackled, his mind could never be imprisoned. That act of surrender didn't weaken him. It granted him a rare and powerful inner freedom. His transformation didn't come from a change in circumstances, but from changing how he related to those circumstances. This truth echoes in the journey of the Buddha as well, a profound example that inner liberation isn't about changing the external, but about surrendering and looking within. The Buddha gave up a royal life filled with wealth, power, and prestige. Why? Because he saw that behind all the glitter was an invisible cage. By releasing external attachments, he created space within, space where enlightenment could emerge. Had he clung to his throne, would the path to liberation have ever opened for millions of people? You can see clearly now, letting go is the key to unlocking your inner strength. Epictetus shows us that even when the body is bound, the mind can remain free. The Buddha teaches us that true truths reveal themselves only when we dare to release our attachments. Both remind us of one unshakable truth. Suffering doesn't arise from events, but from the way we cling to them. And when we dare to let go, we don't become weaker. We create space for peace and transformation to rise. We often think letting go makes us weak. In truth, it's the gateway to real power. When you stop tormenting yourself over a relationship that's no longer aligned, you create room to love yourself and welcome new opportunities. When you stop micromanaging everything at work, you gain the clarity to create and connect. When you release the anxiety about an uncertain future, you begin to live fully in the present. And from that presence, the future unfolds with more clarity. But what happens if we don't let go? We stay stuck in cycles of anxiety. Sleepless nights, tension, and fatigue become the norm. Relationships feel suffocating because no one wants to live under control. And worst of all, we lose the simple joys right in front of us. A delicious meal, a peaceful afternoon, a familiar smile. In contrast, when you finally release, transformation begins. You not only feel lighter, but also wiser. You begin to see life through different eyes, less judgment, more compassion, and greater freedom. Imagine carrying a backpack full of rocks. You've worn it so long you believe you can't set it down, fearing something will be missing without it. But the moment you dare to take it off, you realize you can walk farther, faster, and enjoy the journey. That's the transformation of letting go, not losing something, but reclaiming yourself. Letting go doesn't just treat the symptoms of anxiety. It addresses the root cause, the illusion of control. Once you look straight at that illusion and release it, fear begins to dissolve. Peace is no longer a distant dream. It's something that's been within you all along, just waiting for you to stop bracing so hard and finally notice it. If this message speaks to you, take a moment right now. Stand up, drop your arms by your sides, and breathe slowly, deeply. With each exhale, imagine releasing a weight you've been carrying for far too long. Feel your body lightening, your mind softening. This journey is for all of us, those learning to let go so we can live more freely and fully. Number 4, the magnetic power of peaceful energy. Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room, say very little, do nothing particularly remarkable, and yet every gaze naturally turns to them? It's not because they're loud. It's not because they try to impress. It's because they carry a special kind of energy, the energy of peace. You can't see it with your eyes, but everyone feels it. It's like a cool breeze on a scorching summer day, or the sound of music rising in stillness. I remember during a group discussion in college, when everyone was heatedly arguing about how to implement a project. Voices were overlapping, hands were pointing, and no one was willing to back down. My own heart started racing. My breath quickened, caught in the rising tension. But in the corner of the table sat Daniel, a classmate. He remained still, listening, his eyes clear, his face calm. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to prove a point. Only when everyone began to burn out did Daniel speak, briefly, succinctly. And strangely, the whole room settled down. Not because Daniel had any special power, but because his peaceful presence was a silent force that pulled us out of chaos. Look at our daily lives. In school, students are encouraged to raise their voice to show participation. In the workplace, employees must speak up in every meeting to avoid being seen as passive. On social media, everyone constantly posts, comments, and voices opinions driven by a fear that silence equals irrelevance. This culture of competition slowly implants a belief in our minds that to have influence, we must control the narrative, constantly prove ourselves, and fight for attention. This misunderstanding stems from a very natural need. Everyone wants to be recognized, to feel they matter. But Stoic philosophy reminds us that true value doesn't come from outward displays, but from inner mastery. When we let go of the need to control or prove, stillness becomes the light that draws others in. Without making noise, it is peace itself that becomes the strongest magnet. Peaceful energy is like the surface of a still lake. On it, everything is reflected clearly. But when the lake is turbulent, the images distort and shatter. Our minds work the same way. When filled with worry and conflict, we lose clarity and the space that others need to come close. But when we are still, others feel safe. And it's that sense of safety that makes them want to come closer. Many people believe peace is weakness, that if we don't react, we'll be trampled. But in reality, peace is not passive silence. It's the deliberate choice not to let ourselves be dragged into chaos. It is the root of true confidence. Loud people feel the need to prove their worth. Peaceful people don't. They know their worth is already within, and that's what makes their presence naturally magnetic. If we open our hearts, we'll see that peaceful energy is contagious. Think of a family dinner. If the parents are angry or tense, the entire atmosphere becomes heavy. But if even one person chooses calmness and gentleness, the room slows down, and laughter has a chance to return. Peace, when it begins with one person, can become a guiding light for the entire group. Science confirms this, too. Research on emotional contagion by Sigil Barsaid, a professor at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, shows that both positive and negative emotions can spread through a group. One calm, optimistic individual can shift the entire group's energy. That's why peace isn't just a gift to yourself, it's something you give to the world. But the question is, how do we cultivate peaceful energy? The answer lies in simple, everyday behaviors. When you slow your breath amidst a hectic workday, when you truly listen instead of preparing a reaction, when you put your phone down during dinner to be fully present with loved ones. These small moments are the seeds from which peace grows. And when peace becomes a habit, your energy transforms. You no longer need to try to be magnetic, you simply are. Imagine yourself as a candle in the darkness. You don't have to shout to be seen. You simply shine quietly, and people will find you. That's the essence of the magnetic power of peace. It doesn't shout, but it's powerful enough to guide. When you choose to nurture peace, you'll have more energy because you're no longer draining it through meaningless conflict. You'll build deeper relationships because others feel safe around you. You'll gain greater influence because peace is the foundation of true leadership, not shouting or controlling. But if you ignore it and keep living in chaos, you'll gradually lose clarity. You'll become a victim of stress. And worst of all, you'll lose the very thing you crave most: real connection. Number 5, clarity through calm, not stress. You look down at a crystal clear lake. When the surface is perfectly calm, every image, sky, white clouds, and trees reflect with pristine clarity. But once the wind rises, ripples distort everything. The reflections fracture and blur. The human mind is like that lake. Only in stillness can we see truth. When stirred by anxiety or pressure, life's view becomes fuzzy and disordered. In our modern society, many live as if turbulence is the norm. They believe stress is motivation, that only by pushing harder, straining more, can success be earned. Notice common habits, working until exhaustion, then telling yourself, "At least I tried my best," gulping down a third cup of coffee just to jolt the nerves awake. But what's the real truth? More tension means more obscurity. It's like trying to see a painting through trembling glass. You'll never perceive the whole picture. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." There is no place where a person can find deeper calm and peace than within. Stillness is not meaningless emptiness. It's a space where we can look again and see clearly what deserves our energy. When we race under stress, we think we are maximizing time, but in fact, we are filling it with shards of worry. Only through stillness do we return to what matters and see the right path. In this spirit, the Lord gives a profound reminder. By waiting and by calm you shall be saved. In quiet and in trust shall be your strength. This is not a call for passivity or surrender, but a simple, deep truth. True power does not arise from forcing your will against everything, but from the capacity to pause, be patient, and place full trust in stillness. It is when we are willing to step back, sit quietly, and breathe that we discover a hidden source of strength. That strength allows us to stand firm amid chaos, to master ourselves, and to cultivate a mind that is clear and serene despite life's shifting winds. During a critical exam period, I threw myself into studying so intensely that I lost sleep. I crammed knowledge in, forcing myself to sit at my desk through the night. But the more I stressed, the more chaotic my mind became. On those days, I would read without remembering, write without understanding. Eventually, my body forced me to stop. I stepped outside for a walk, breathed deeply, and in that moment of silence, something strange occurred. I began to recall the core knowledge, to see clearly how the material fit together. In stillness, clarity came, and I passed that exam, not by staying up all night, but because of that quiet pause. In reality, many neuroscience studies support this idea. Under high stress, the brain releases cortisol, a hormone that weakens memory, lowers concentration, and impairs decision-making. Conversely, in states of stillness, such as during meditation, deep breathing, or simply sitting quietly, the brain activates the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for clarity, creativity, and rational thought. In other words, stillness is the foundation of wisdom. We think that running faster gets us to the finish line, but sometimes stopping helps us find the right road. We believe stress sharpens us, but it only blinds us. Only in peace do we gain eyes to see what is necessary. Don't treat stillness as a luxury. Regard it as a foundation. You don't need to meditate for hours, nor abandon life to hide away. All you need are small pauses, 3 deep breaths before entering a meeting, 5 minutes of quiet morning meditation before touching your phone, or simply glancing upward to observe the sky amidst a busy day. These small acts are how you still the lake within, how you begin to see truth. If you practice this, the transformation is striking. You'll make wiser decisions because your mind will no longer be fogged by stress. You'll have more energy since you're not draining it on worry. You'll feel more confident because clarity in your mind forms the foundation for resolute action. But if you refuse, if you continue to live in the spiral of stress, you'll find yourself racing endlessly without ever arriving, exhausted, directionless, and without clarity. Stillness is not a privilege for the few. It is our right. It demands little, only that we dare to release the rushing beat for a moment and return to ourselves. So, today, what will you choose? To keep straining in stress, or to dare to stop and find clarity? If you truly want, begin now. Turn off your screen for a minute. Take 3 deep breaths and allow stillness to open before you. And if this message brings you peace, share it with someone lost in stress so that they may glimpse the light of stillness. Number 6. The paradox of true strength. You might be in a relationship, trying to control every word your partner says, fearing losing them so much that you forget yourself. You might be at work, pushing yourself to do everything just to prove your worth, only to end up exhausted. You might be in a family where you carry all the responsibility as if letting go would make everything fall apart. All of these actions stem from one belief: that strength means holding it all together, being in control, never showing weakness. But what's the truth? In the very moment you tense up, you begin draining your own strength. To feel this paradox more clearly, try this simple exercise. Sit upright, take a deep breath, and hold it in your chest. At first, you may feel full, like you're in control. But after just a few seconds, discomfort sets in. Your heart races, and your body cries out for release. Now exhale slowly. A wave of relief spreads through you, and your breath returns to its natural rhythm. In life, when we keep holding on, we only suffocate ourselves. Only when we let go does the flow return, and that's when real strength appears. Stoic philosophy saw this paradox thousands of years ago. Epictetus once said, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." True strength doesn't come from forcing life to bend to our will, but from the ability to let go, to accept, and to move with the flow. The one constantly trying to control everything may think they are strong, but in reality, they are only binding themselves to fear and disappointment. Meanwhile, the one who releases, who flows with life, finds peace, freedom, and a strength that endures. You'll see this paradox in every part of life. In love, the more you cling, the more love fades. The more pressure you apply, the farther your partner drifts. But when you give them space, love has room to grow. At work, the more you try to prove you're better than everyone else, the more isolated you become. But when you're humble and open to listening, your co-workers trust and support you. In a family, the more you shoulder everything alone, the more others rely on you blindly. But when you share the load, they learn to grow and contribute. Strength, then, is not a rigid wall separating you from the world. It is like water, soft and flowing, able to slip through any crack, yet strong enough to shape mountains. When you relax like water, You become flexible, adaptable, and it is precisely in that softness that real strength lies. We often tense up out of fear, fear of being hurt, fear of being seen as weak, fear of losing what we hold dear. But this fear leads to rigidity, making us act inflexibly and create more pain. If we don't recognize this paradox, the consequences can be severe. We burn out, relationships fall apart, and work becomes stagnant. We think we're being strong, but really, we're only tying ourselves in knots. On the other hand, if you dare to let go, if you allow yourself to relax, something remarkable happens. Your body becomes healthier without the strain of tension. Your mind becomes clearer, no longer clouded by the obsession with control. Your relationships deepen because others feel respected and trusted around you. Life stops being a battlefield and starts becoming a harmonious flow. And within that flow, you discover a new kind of strength, quiet, subtle, but deeply enduring. The more you try to prove yourself, the weaker you become. The more you release, the stronger you stand. Like bamboo, it bends with the wind but never breaks. Likewise, true human strength comes from knowing how to soften. When you know how to release, only then can you truly hold. So today, try one small act. Instead of forcing your point in an argument, stay silent and listen. Instead of carrying everything alone, ask a friend to share the load. Instead of clinging to something that no longer serves you, dare to let it go. You'll find that letting go doesn't make you weak. It gives you quiet strength, the kind that brings peace and freedom. This is the paradox of strength. It doesn't roar. It doesn't demand. It flows. And when you learn to flow with life, not fight against it, that's when you begin to live, not just with power, but with grace. The last principle also marks the final point of today's journey. Looking back, we realize with surprise that worry isn't protection. It's merely a shadow that clouds the present moment. The mind clings to fear, believing it offers safety, when in fact it's an invisible chain. Our addiction to overthinking leaves us exhausted, spinning like a top with no end. We don't lose energy because of responsibilities or work, but because we're absent from the present. And when we dare to be fully present, when we learn to let go, we discover a paradoxical truth. True strength arises not from control, but from inner peace. Life is full of challenges, but Epictetus reminds us, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. It's not the events themselves that cause suffering, it's our perception of them. When we stop resisting and put down unnecessary burdens, life responds with clarity, freedom, and a natural flow we once thought impossible. Letting go is not surrender. It's the gateway to a deeper, fuller life. So, what about you? Are you ready to release what has held you back and embrace a lighter, stronger path forward? Share your thoughts below. Your story might inspire someone else. And don't forget to hit subscribe to walk with us in a community of those choosing clarity and freedom through the spirit of Stoicism. Don't let today's message remain mere theory. Turn each video into a real step forward, bringing you closer to the peaceful, energized, and meaningful life you truly deserve.